This roster review is for JynGeorgeSo from an enterprising starship. Live long and prosper. Jyn has a 4 million galactic power. She was a small dolphin but hasn't spent anything in the game in over a year. And she earns about 350 crystals per day for free from her arenas. Jyn wants a general review of her roster, and she does want some help with priorities and modding. Okay, Jyn, so you are able to climb into the top 50 for your squad arena team, and you're running Jedi Knight Revan with Thrawn. That's going to allow you to defeat some of the Darth Revan teams out there and make your climb a little bit easier. One recommendation I do have for this team is your Jolee. Could be a little bit better modded. I would like to see health primaries on your cross and on your triangle. You've already got health on your circle, and you could put a health primary on your arrow with a high-speed secondary. I think you're okay with speed if you want to run that. What this is going to do is help Jolee heal the team even more. I did notice you do have Darth Revan, and this is great. You don't have Malik yet, but the next event that comes around, I'm sure you'll be getting him, and you can switch your team out at that point. Or you could work on your gear right now and go ahead and switch over to the Darth Revan team, but they're going to have to be Gear 12, Darth Revan, Badstilla, and HK. You can run those three with Sith Trooper, and you can either go ahead and gear your Sith Marauder. He's a pretty easy gear and he does a lot of damage. Or you can use a fast Grandmaster Yoda. And Grandmaster Yoda is going to be able to apply tenacity up to the whole team, and that will stop the other Badstilla from applying corrupted battle meditation. And then your Badstilla is going to apply that, and you're going to get a pretty decent advantage out of that. Your Fleet Arena team is looking pretty good. Congratulations on finishing that last star on Han's Millennium Falcon. Your team is just fine. You'll be able to climb into the top 5 regularly. I know you are finishing under 20, sometimes in the top 10, but this is going to allow you to go ahead and climb all the way to the top. However, I do suspect a possible meta change coming soon to Fleet, and I would guess that it's going to involve Sith ships to unlock a capital. And looking at your Sith ships, you've got the Emperor Shuttle to 4 stars, you have the Sith Fighter to 4, and you've got the Sith Bomber to 3. My guess is it would be a legendary event, and you would need those ships to 5 stars at least, so that might be one of your top priorities for Fleet to unlock a new capital ship potentially. Another area that I would focus on, not necessarily for Arena, but just in ships in general, are your Geonosians. You have them all at 7 stars for the ships. The pilots have some gear, but they're going to need to be Gear 12 anyway for the Geonosis territory battles, so it's okay to go ahead and invest in them. Their ships will be needed for the territory battles, so this is a safe play. You also may want to consider taking your Grand Moff Tarkin to Gear 12 for the Executrix. Again, this is Geonosis territory battles minded. One tip that you can use if you do find yourself struggling in Fleet or in ships combat missions, you can move gold mods from one character to your pilots, and that's going to boost their galactic power, thus boosting the stats of their ship. This will help you gain a little bit more speed or a little bit more damage. I don't necessarily recommend just taking your pilot's mods to 6 dots just for those bonuses. It's probably overall just cheaper to move mods when you feel like you need that extra bonus. Okay, let's take a look at your factions, starting with the Bounty Hunters. You've got a really solid Bounty Hunter squad. You are missing 3 of them, so you're not going to be able to field 2 full Bounty Hunter teams. But what you can do is field a team like Zeta Bosk, Zam, Greedo, IG-88, and Cad Bane on defense, and take Boba Fett and Jango Fett on offense in Territory Wars and Grand Arena. Those 2 characters by themselves can get a lot of undersized squad wins, and they also can kill and prevent revives, such as with the Night Sisters. You may want to consider farming Dengar. He's a pretty hard farm just because you can only get him out of the guild store. I think this might be a luxury farm, but it's something to maybe consider down the road. Your clone troopers are fine for now. Rex is fully geared. He's the most important one at this point. They've all got a little bit of gear on them, so it's a good start. Echo's 7th star, you want to go ahead and pick that up from the fleet store. That's just going to help you later on when light side territory battles come out for Geonosis. Your Empire faction is looking really good. You've got all the major players, and I wouldn't worry a whole lot about them. One thing that I would consider is making your Darth Vader a little bit faster. When I looked into your roster a little bit deeper, I did see that he was somewhat slower. And if you could add, let's say, 20 to 30 speed on him, that's going to allow him to go first in most situations with this team and help get that turn meter train rolling even faster. Another small suggestion is, I noticed that Grand Moff Tarkin was modded for speed and potency. I would consider modding him for straight up potency. That's going to help him apply debuffs, and again, that's just going to help fuel that turn meter train. Your Ewoks are looking good. The only real suggestion I have here is go ahead and farm up Logray. He fits really well onto this team. He's a great character. His mass days is highly useful to shut down turn meter trains as well as prevent assists. This team can take out some surprisingly good teams. One other thing that I think might be beneficial to you is to look at Ewok Elder, and instead of modding him for speed, to mod him for as much health as you can get on him. That way, when he uses his healing ability, he will be able to provide a little bit more health to everybody. I understand you want him fast and you want him to go as much as possible. That way he can heal or revive when necessary. But I think with full health sets, you should be able to maintain the speed that you've got on him now, as well as get that additional benefit from his healing. Your First Order is in great shape. I wouldn't put any more investment into this team. It's falling out of favor a little bit on defense. It's a great offensive team too, so that helps. If you did invest anything, I would consider working on your First Order Stormtrooper, but that's a lot of gear to commit to this team. Your Galactic Republic is in great shape. You don't have Padme yet, but once you do have her, you've got a team that's pretty ready to handle her coming into it. General Kenobi's finished. Your Barriss Offee is gear 11 with the Zeta. She's looking good. C-3PO is ready to go. Jedi Knight Anakin is done. And your Ahsoka Tano has a good amount of work into her. So once you get Padme, those are the characters that I think you might want to invest in the gear. You can run this team with Barriss Offee pretty effectively. You can run it with C-3PO, or you can run it with Clone Wars Chewbacca. But your core seems to be General Kenobi, Jedi Knight Anakin, Ahsoka Tano, and Padme. There might be a fifth character release that fits into this team, and I'd be on the lookout for that. Shaak Ti is also an effective fifth. You've got your Imperial Troopers in good shape. The Zeta is on Veers. You can field this team and do a lot of damage. One thing that I did notice is your Colonel Stark is a little bit slow. I would definitely look to put some more speed on him. I like to run Stark at around 240 plus, and what that does is just ensure that that turn meter train for this team gets going as quickly as possible, and that way they get to do their damage right off the bat and just wreck other teams. One possibility for you is to include Range Trooper. I think at 5 stars, gear 11, he will be very effective, and you can sub him in. He just takes this team to another level. One more recommendation that I have for you that I would really fix is take a look at your Snow Trooper. If you notice you've got 5 crit damage mods and 1 crit chance mod on him, I would take that down to 4 crit damage and 2 crit chance. That way you get the maximum benefits. Another thing that I would recommend is to put a crit damage triangle on him, and that way he has such a high crit chance that he's going to get a lot more damage. You've got a lot of work done on your Night Sisters. This is great. The biggest recommendation that I would have for you is to go ahead and take Mother Talzin and Old Daka to gear 12. I would take Night Sister Spirit to gear 11 or gear 12, and I would take Talia to gear 11 or gear 12. You are missing a star on Night Sister Zombie, and at some point I would go back and pick that up. It's going to help you mostly in the raids to help you do a little bit more damage, because you'll be able to include her in the Heroic Sith raid. You've got both Zetas on Asajj and Mother Talzin, so this team is pretty ready to go. You could Zeta Old Daka, but I think that's a luxury Zeta right now, and I wouldn't worry too much about it. Your Old Republic team is looking good. You do have the Zeta on Karth Mission and Zalbar, and you are Darth Malak ready, so this is exciting. You are going to get him the next time that event rolls around. You can take those guys to gear 12. The Karth team is really good on offense and defense for Territory Wars or Grand Arena. One thing that I think you need to change, though, is if you look at Canderous, Kind of like Snowtrooper, he's got 5 offense mods and 1 potency. Take one of those offense mods off and put another potency mod on, because you do want those damage overtimes to stick. Another suggestion is to put a crit avoidance arrow on Zelbar. Right now you're running a protection arrow, and that's fine. I mean, it may work for you this way better than with a crit avoidance. I suggest crit avoidance because it minimizes the damage dealt to him. I think it just makes him a little bit more tanky. Your Phoenix squad is in good shape, and I wouldn't recommend investing any more into them. They're good to go as is. Your Rebels is another faction that you have that's pretty well good to go as is. The biggest recommendations that I could make is think about the Gear 12 Plus for Chewbacca, and think about putting as much offense as you can on Han Solo. That's ongoing. He just hits like a truck. And the Zeta for C-3PO on Oh My Goodness, that's a pretty good Zeta, and I would maybe investigate that a little bit if you've got an extra Zeta to use right now. No complaints about your Resistance team. They're looking pretty good. One recommendation I have is to put more speed on your BB-8 if you can. I noticed that your mods are kind of jumbled up, and that's probably just to give him as much speed as possible. But where he's at right now is a little bit slow. If you could put plus 30, plus 40 more speed on him, I think it would really benefit this team. Rogue One is another faction that's not incredibly usable in the game right now. You've got great development on them anyway. Your pilots are looking pretty good. Biston and Scarif Rebel Pathfinder, don't worry about them. That's an insane amount of gear just for a ship. So this faction's fine. Don't worry about any more investment here. Your Scoundrel team is excellent. You do have Kira and Vandor Chewbacca, so you've got a lot of options with a Scoundrel squad. One recommendation is go ahead and finish off Enfys Nest. She's going to do a lot of work at Gear 11, but at Gear 12, it just takes her survivability up even more, and that way, if she does lose her bonus protection, it's a little bit harder to one-shot her. She's a very important character for Territory Wars and Grand Arena Championships because she's going to be able to solo quite a bit out there and get you some bonus points. You've got a lot of work done on your Separatists, and right now this is probably the #1 team for most people in the game with the launch of Geonosis Territory Battles. You've got most of these guys and gals to 7 stars. Grievous needs a star, and your Droideka and B1 Battle Droid are the only 2 that need a couple of stars. And it looks like you're working on that. Keep doing that. The simple message for Separatists right now is 7-star Gear 12 on all of them. No complaints about your Sith. When I say Sith right now, I'm meaning mainly Darth Traya, Darth Nihilus, and Darth Sion. Their mods look fine. Wouldn't worry about that team. Those 3 together, you should be using them a lot in Grand Arena and Territory Wars to go in with undersized squads and get some bonus points. We talked a little about your Sith Empire team and changing from Jedi Knight Revan to Darth Revan. I think right now it would benefit you to keep gearing Darth Revan and this team and wait until you have that gear on to really switch over. You're high enough in Arena that you're going to encounter some pretty good teams, and I don't want you to struggle until you're ready to get in there and just start doing the damage you need to do. Jedi Knight Revan is probably going to be your safe bet for now. But for this team, go ahead, focus on their gear. Focus on the Zetas for Bastila and HK, and you're going to have fun once you get this team up and running. One recommendation I do have is for HK47's mods. I would recommend putting an offense set with crit chance on him, and this is because his Havoc special can't crit, and you want it to do the maximum damage it can. Offense is going to give you that damage regardless, because if you're not getting the bonus from the crit damage, these mods are kind of wasted. Your roster as a whole is really deep and really focused and highly impressive. I just want to scroll through here and kind of show it off a little bit. You've done quite a bit of work. You've got some incredible development, and it's only going to get better. I know you're in a great guild, and they're going to help you progress. And yeah, excellent job. Excellent job here. Okay, to summarize your plan, what I'd like for you to do is focus on Count Dooku in Cantina. He's really close. Go ahead and get his 7th star and then move on to Brood Alpha. For your fleet node, focus on B1 first, and then I think Eta 2 should be your next farm, because I would be willing to bet you're working on the Negotiator, and Eta 2 is going to fit right in with that squad. The guild store, you probably just want to farm gear, but you could farm Logray, you could farm Dingar. Your fleet store, you want to pick up Echo's 7-star, and I would recommend picking up your Galactic Republic ships as well. I noticed a few of those weren't quite at 7 stars. You can do that in the fleet store or the Galactic War store. Your hard nodes, focus down on Droideka first, get those separatists up and running, finish that 7-star for Zombie, and then if you need something else to farm, you can look at Range Trooper or Rose. And I put Rose in there because we do have a movie coming out. If they drop a legendary event or a hero's journey, Rose is one of those characters that doesn't see a lot of love in the game, and she's a strong candidate to be needed. Think of it this way. If you farmed 1 star a day for the next 100 days, you've already got her 7-star farmed by the time that possible event might roll around. Your gear priorities. I broke this down into 4 sections, and I want you to focus on the top section first, and then if they don't need a piece of gear that you get, you can see if anybody in the second section needs it. If they don't need it, go to the third and then to the fourth. Your first section is going to be General Grievous and Count Dooku. Get those 2 geared up first. Then you can work on your Geonosians. That's going to help you in the territory battles, and also it will give you another set of ships that are really good. After the Geonosians are done, go back and finish off the General Grievous team with B2, B1, Droideka Magna Guard, Newt Gunray. And then last, if you've got some spare gears, work on the Night Sisters, getting them to gear 12, and the same for Nest. One possibility I want to mention before I move on, you could lump the Geonosians in with the General Grievous team. Both of them are important, and you're going to have to decide which one is really more important. General Grievous, you get him to gear 13, stick him in with B1, B2, Droideka, and Magna Guard, and that team is upper tier, very upper tier. The Geonosians, I don't know how they're going to be. I just know they're going to be needed in the Geonosis territory battles, and right now, without their reworks, they're still kind of garbage. To review your mods and priorities, definitely get Jolee set up with his health sets with the health primaries. Ewok Elder, I'd like to see that done too, but I don't know that that's as high a priority as Jolee. I'd like to see you get your Vader and your Stark sped up a little bit. And your Snow Trooper and Canderous, make sure you go back and change those mods. That way you get the full bonuses from the sets. Think about the crit avoidance primary on Zalbar. It may or may not work. Just play around with it if you want. BB-8 and Chewbacca, they could also use more speed. And finally, your Darth Revan and Bad Scylla team, they need as much speed as possible. And I know once you get them to your arena team, you're going to switch over your arena mods, and that's going to kind of flow naturally. But keep an eye out on that. You asked me to talk about mod farming, so what I thought I would do is share my strategy with you. What I like to do is spend 75% of my efforts towards farming speed mods, and the other 25% I'll split between offense, crit chance, and crit damage. I would recommend that you farm at least 8 mods a day, and if you ever run out of slicing materials, take a couple of days during the week and just farm those and use what you get from the Heroic Sith Raid. Most of the mods that you do farm are going to be white mods. Anything that's less than 5 dot, I just sell. Anything that is 5 dot white, I take to level 12, and that's going to reveal all of their secondary stats. If you don't see any speed, or you've got a +3 or a +4 speed, I would just recommend selling that outright. Any of them that are +5 at white, slice those to green, and if you roll a +10, go ahead and take it to yellow. There's a really high chance you're going to roll +15 or better speed, even +20. One caution is to beware of flat defense secondaries. When you're slicing, you have a very good chance of rolling that defense, which in some situations it can be good, but if you're going for speed, these are ones to watch out for because you're going to have an increased chance to roll that defense rather than speed. I'm not saying don't. I have had flat defense with speed secondaries roll very high speed. It's just a choice you're going to have to make for yourself. Okay, Jen, that wraps up this roster review. I hope it's been helpful, and anytime you have questions or need some advice, feel free to send me a message, and we'll talk it out and make good things happen. Have a good one, Jen.